guys, welcome to my channel. Who is Chris Orwa?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a complicated question.
Why?
Chris Orwa, he's different things to different people. Majority would know Chris Orwa as a data guy. Others would know him as a joker. Other people would know him as a quiet family guy. So it depends on who you ask who Chris Orwa is. And Chris Orwa is different things to different people. This podcast is where you can to get to answer the question why things happen. So there's a lot of things happening. Some are important to us, others are not. So we're going to pick what's very important to us as a country and then figure out why those things happen in order to figure out what solutions can be offered. So we actually take this as a problem-solving perspective. The way if you work in a company and you want to launch a new product, you want to solve a given problem. So you set a problem statement, you collect the data, diagnose the problem, and then come up with possible solution. So it will be data focused, but it'll be a lot of thinking. I guess this has to be a problem which could not have been solved without data and without having that perspective and analysis. That problem wouldn't have been solved. So could I go top of the list? There's mostly what you refer to as exploratory data analysis, and you find these nuggets of data. And I think, to me, without going into a lot of crossing NDAs, was figuring out how customers were misusing a product that was developed, and we couldn't figure out why. So it was developed to do A, but it's not being used for that purposes. Until we tracked the app data, all the steps that you take into that, and then realized they drop off at a certain point, and then connected that with some field research, and then realized that we completely got all this wrong. What we built is not what it was being used for. So without taking the app data of how the users interact with the app, plotting it in a very nice flow, and figuring out where people are dropping off on that, we probably would have never solved that problem. First of all, we are a data scarce country. That's one thing we should know. So data definitely will not play a role in a lot of the decisions. A lot of decisions are based off stakeholders and who's it going to benefit or not. One of the things people also don't take into account is that you can take data, break it down, and it shows you what decision you should make, but people won't make that decision because of other factors that have to be considered. So data is one parameter in decision making. And I like giving this example that if someone analyzed divorce data and realized that if you marry someone of the same education level, your divorce chances are at 60%. Would you decide to date someone on the lower academic scale? No. You will still marry whoever you want, but at the back of your mind, you'd know that. So data informed you, but the decision was not squarely on data. And that goes on and on in so many things. So data is one parameter you use in decision making. And decision making is a much more wider thing. Who is going to benefit, so on and so forth. So election, as far as Kenya goes, and maybe since independence, we know if you have to choose which parameter has the biggest weight, it's always tribe. We can run away from it, but definitely, and you look at it, if you come from the top two tribes, your chance of winning the election is very high, or if it's the collaboration between two large tribes. So if you use that as a singular factor, then you say yes, he'd be re-elected. We are unlike American politics where it's issue driven, like if you don't build this infrastructure here, if you don't support LGBTQ, if you don't do this, the election is heavily issue driven. Our election is less issue driven, so that even if the president underperforms by whichever standard we put, his chances of re-election are still very high. So I'll put my bet on his re-election. Come here. I hope that we have very good conversations, very deep conversation, very informative, and more impactful conversation on this channel. So like, subscribe, and welcome to Orwa's world.